Hello, hello. Happy Saturday. Hope everybody's doing well. I have a graphic up here on the screen about my upcoming Don Ross Guitar Weekend. I'm doing it again this year in Nova Scotia, in my hometown of Windsor, Nova Scotia, my adopted hometown of Windsor, Nova Scotia. And it's going to happen between August 14th and 16th. And so here's some of the information here on the screen. The website, as you can see, is donrossguitarweekend.com. And there's a Gmail address on how to get in touch with me about it if you need to ask questions. And there's also a QR code there. You can, it might be difficult if you're watching this on a small device to actually, if you're watching on your phone, it's hard to scan the QR code. But if you're watching on your computer, you can use your phone to scan the QR code and pay the 50% deposit, which is due around now, and then you can pay up the rest of the amount by April 15th. The full price for the weekend is $825 US, and that's going to be happening, like I say, August 14th through 16th. The fee covers everything. It covers 2 nights accommodation, all your meals, all your drinks, all the instruction, and a concert. And this year I'll be doing the guitar weekend with the wonderful and talented Julie Malia from Germany. So that'll be a blast. So once again, that's August 14th through 16th in Windsor, Nova Scotia, Canada. That's not far at all from Halifax. So if you're coming in from out of the province, you just fly into Halifax, and it's 40 minutes away. All right. And here I am. Hello. Oops, almost. Get rid of some of these things off the screen. But we'll come back to some of this information later. I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget to mention it because I'm actually really terrible at self-promotion sometimes. So I'll just leave this up on the screen somewhere, this little QR code. Maybe I'll put it up here in the corner so it's a little out of the way. And there you have it. All right. Joel, you don't have much time to stick around, but you want to say hi. Hi, Joel. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. I was sick for a couple of days this week, but I feel a lot better. Congratulations, you released the latest song. Thank you. Yeah, my new single is out. Did I Fool You? Maybe we'll give that a spin a little later. I'll show you the video of that. I've got a new vocal album coming out. So that may surprise some of you because I've never made a vocal video really, except for a video that I did with Julie, a version of my tune Wave From Your Window, which is actually a tune that I released back in the 90s. But I re-recorded it for the vocal album, not for the vocal album, for an album that Julie and I are doing together. We've got about half the album recorded, and she's coming here in a few weeks, and we're going to finish off the record. So that's exciting too. So I'll play that later. Hi, Detlev. How you doing? Terry, nice to see you there in Buffalo. Hi, hi, hi. Corey, you went to the guitar weekend this past year. You did. And you signed up again this year. Good for you. I didn't see that come through yet, so I've been busy setting this up. So thanks, Corey. It'd be great to have you back. And there's at least 3 of you so far that are coming who came last year. That's wonderful. You're a great group last year. And hello from Winnipeg. That's very nice. Very, very nice. Winnipeg. Hope to get to Winnipeg. Looks like it'll be part of a tour maybe of... We might do it as part of an Ontario tour that might take in like Western Quebec, a whole bunch of Ontario, and then into Manitoba. So that'll probably be in early 27, but that'll probably be the next time I get back. Hi, Strummy Beard. Nice to see you there. Hi from Germany to Andreas, it says here. 7433. Hope to see and hear from you again in Germany. Yes, thank you. From Bremen. I played in Bremen not long ago. Yes, that was fun. And going back to Germany in April. First I'm going to Bulgaria and then back to Germany. And sort of hitting a few places around the joint. Hey, Castine and Gingen. Wow, I'm impressed you checked in. Oh yeah, I guess the show doesn't start for another hour, right? Okay, cool. And watching from Medellin, Colombia. Hi, Jonesy. You're watching from Medellin, but you live in London. That's funny. London, Ontario, in Canada. We met at Saunders. Yeah, I played Saunders Secondary School a million times when Rick Pichet was teaching there. Hello to Ukraine. Right back to you. Yes, wonderful to see everybody from all over the planet. And let me know if the volume is loud enough. I checked on my headphones. Everything seems to be working. I seem to be streaming to both YouTube and Facebook just fine. Uh, and Phil Schwartz says, "Can't Find My Way Home" is your favorite vocal song. That's lovely. I have to play it on the 7 string, and I haven't played it in probably 25 years. So I better not try it today. Anyway, all right. I just thought I'd start with a tune here for fun. Let me just adjust this camera a little bit, get it a little lower, or just point it down, I guess. Let's see if that helps, so you can actually see the guitar a bit. There we go. So here's a tune that I put on the Robot Monster album. This is about 23 years ago, I believe. It was the first sort of real engineering job I did on one of my records where I engineered the whole album. Now I mix in Dolby Atmos here in this crazy studio I have. But this is a tune called Dracula and Friends Part 1. Alrighty. Dracula and Friends Part 1. That's what that was. So, yeah, cool. I think the volume's okay. My guitar is always a lot louder than my voice when I do these things. I'm watching my levels. I'm always worried that my guitar is too loud. I'm always worried that my voice is too quiet. Just going with one mic on this. But great. Hey, Marton. Nice to see you there from Hungary. Phil checking in from New Mexico. That's wonderful. That is wonderful to see. Wow, people from so far and wide. Um, oh yeah, casting an hour until the show starts. Great. Yes, looking forward. Mannheim Guitar Summit and workshop in Bremen were awful. I hope you didn't mean that the way it normally means. I guess if something's full of awe, that's cool. Um, yes, Eva. Hi, Eva. Nice to see you there. And thank you. Yeah. So that was Dracula and Friends. So as you may hear from that tune, I have a big love for all things funky. I grew up, at the time when funk was king, kind of a 70s kid. And so I listened to a lot of Parliament Funkadelic and the Bar-Kays and Motown tunes and stuff like that growing up. So they definitely have a strong influence on a lot of my tunes. So yeah, if you have questions, please ask them. London Jeff something says, I have a bunch of questions, but you'll start on the tech side. What are your thoughts on Taylor guitars, and what's your favorite go-to effects pedal? Thanks for the question. Taylor guitars, I'm not that familiar with them, to be honest. I know they're a gigantic brand, and they've done a really good job of marketing themselves all over the world. The very few times I've ever tried a Taylor guitar, I found them to be a very high quality factory instrument. So I'm very spoiled. I've worked with a luthier, this guy here, Mark Beneteau. See the B on the headstock? So Beneteau Guitars. His name is spelled Beneteau, and like the yacht company. There's also a yacht company with the same name. Not the same guy. Imagine that, a workshop where you built guitars and yachts, sort of going back and forth between them. I guess, there must be somebody doing that, right? Anyway, so I'm very spoiled because I've worked with Mark for going on, it's very close to 30 years now. We've been working together, and he knows exactly what I want in a guitar at this point, and he's made me 9 or 10 guitars over the years, including my baritone guitar and including my harp guitar and this guitar. And I've got a twin for this guitar that lives in Germany. This guitar is spruce and cocobolo. You can probably see the fancy grain on it. And the one that lives in Germany is cedar on the top and mahogany on the back and sides. I do about half my touring in Europe, so I leave a guitar over there so I don't have to keep schlepping it back and forth and subjecting it to airline abuse. But yeah, so the Taylor guitar is a very good factory guitar. That's as much as I can say. I'm not particularly familiar with them. A few years ago, I was in a quartet with Dan Crary and Beppe Gambetta and Tony McManus, and both Dan and Beppe had Taylor endorsements. So I got to hear Taylors every night, and they seem to be comfortable with them, so that's great. I'm just, like I say, spoiled rotten, so I haven't even thought about the idea of buying a guitar in so long that I just don't even compare guitars. I haven't thought of it. I know it sounds so snobby, but I'm sorry about that. Go-to effects pedal. I have a small pedal board. I don't use a lot of pedals, but essentially what I use is an IR pedal it's an impulse response pedal that sort of acousticizes your signal a little bit more. I mean, I use the K&K system, which uses a mic as part of its sources. You can see it there in the sound hole. So it's a pretty acoustic sounding plugged in sound anyway, but then this thing called Body Res, from TC Electronics. It's a very inexpensive pedal, and it just makes your guitar sound that much more like you've just put a nice mic in front of your guitar. It's amazing. I go from that to an octave pedal, and then to what do you call those things? An envelope filter. So it's like an automatic wah-wah sound. For the funky stuff, I kick it in just once or twice per show as a little special surprise. People are always like, holy moly, I didn't expect that. I go from that to a stereo chorus, the TC Electronics stereo chorus. And I go from that to a flashback pedal, which is I think it's also TC, if I'm not mistaken. It's a delay pedal. I don't use it very much. And then 24/7 I have a reverb on, just a really subtle reverb. It's made by that company Strymon. It's the smaller one. It's Cloudburst. That's what it's called. And it's cool because it fits nicely on a small pedal board. And it's stereo. It sounds great. And then I go from there to I know I'm forgetting something. No, I think maybe I go straight from the reverb to my DI. That's what I do. And I use a stereo DI. So I process the last part of my chain in stereo. Now, of those, do I have a preferred pedal? I guess, I've always had a weak spot for the TC Electronic Chorus. I've had one since the late 80s. I was inspired when I heard Michael Hedges use one at a live show. I thought, wow, what a beautiful sounding chorus pedal. And back then, they were so incredibly expensive. I bought mine in the late 80s. The first one I bought, I think I must have paid close to 400 Canadian dollars for it back then. I mean, insane, like well over 300 US dollars. And then I bought that one eventually got ruined at a festival. It got full of sand. It was terrible. So I had to replace it. And so I bought a second-hand one. And even the second-hand one was 300 Canadian dollars. But now they've made a reissue of it. And what's nice about the new pedal is that it runs on a 9-volt power supply like everything else on your pedal board. The old ones were hardwired to an AC, like an AC plug. So the problem with that was that it needed its own plug-in, and there's another wire sort of dangling off your pedal board. But I mean, it sounded so good, I put up with it for years. But now they've come out with a reissue, and they're very inexpensive. They're under 200 Canadian dollars for, they call it the gold reissue or something. And I read about it. It's the exact same. They didn't change anything about it except make it 9-volt compatible, DC 9-volt instead of AC, plug into the wall. And but it uses the exact same schematic inside as the old ones. So they sound the same. They really are amazing. So really great pedal. Another question here. Sorry, let me just, I have to scroll up. You guys are so fast. Okay. This is from Cretan. Did you ever have performance anxiety or fear early in your career or even now? How did you handle it? Hi, Marie. Yes, I definitely, when I was first starting to perform, well, I started to perform when I was very young. So I had my first paying gig as a guitarist and singer when I was 15. I used to play underage at some places in Montreal because I looked older than I was. And Quebec, they're kind of loosey-goosey to this day about whether or not you're old enough to do things. I was able to get away with playing places like Friar's Pub, which was on Crescent Street in Montreal. And I used to play at the Yellow Door, which you didn't have to, it was just a coffee house. You didn't have to be over 18 to play there. And I used to play John Abbott College. And so I grew up in Montreal playing all these sort of acoustic haunts. And back then, at first, of course, I was nervous. I was very young. And then I went to school for music, and I didn't really perform at all for many years. And then I went off to another school in the States for a little while. So I was a student for like 6 years. And then I decided to get back into performing because I needed a job. And so playing live seemed like the best idea for me, at least for a while. I really wanted to be like a film composer, but I just thought, well, I better get a few gigs to support myself. And when I first started up as an adult professional, I was terrified. I would get to the point where I'd go to sing something, and my voice would go like this, I'd start sounding like not Kermit the Frog, some other kind of frog, a bullfrog, basically, because I'm still full of bull. So there you go. It seems appropriate. Fortunately, now I perform so often that I just get excited. I don't get nervous. I don't have anxiety. I just, the adrenaline is like a little hit that happens just before I go out on stage. I might even be really sleepy 5 minutes before I go out and just think, oh, I'm too tired. I don't want to play tonight. And then all of a sudden, it's like 2 minutes before showtime and my eyes just go bing, and then body just goes, yeah, ready for this. And being on stage and playing is like a tonic for me. I love it. It's one of the best things about my life. And that's why I've done it for so long. Hi from the UK. I would love to get back to the UK again. Haven't been since October of 24. I went up to Scotland for the Ullapool Guitar Festival. But working on it, I have new representation in Europe, and they are responsible for. That's one of the territories they're responsible for. So let's see if that works out. Um, do you know Alex Misko? Yes, I know Alex. Lovely man, and we've worked together. I think once, maybe at one show, and yeah, so I know Alex very well. Let me see now. Who's my favorite classical composer and why? Well, classical is one of those funny words, right? I guess that means like Western art music that's at least a few hundred years old or something. Because classical is actually an era, right, of this sort of large body of Western art music. But it's like Holland. People call the Netherlands Holland, and Holland is just two provinces in the Netherlands, but everybody calls it Holland. Not everybody anymore, but a lot of people call it Holland to this day. So classical music, I'm really more of a Baroque guy. Don't make any Baroque jokes. Musicians are always Baroque. No, I'm a big fan of Bach, and so I kind of OD on him every once in a while, and his contemporaries. I love Handel. I love or Händel. I love Scarlatti. So all those dudes from that era. I'm also into early music, so like really early stuff like Josquin des Prés and Guillaume de Machaut. These Belgian composers from the 13th, 14th century who did early part writing. I love that stuff. So, and contemporary classical, if you want to call it that, it's a bad term, but people use it all the time. Arvo Pärt is amazing. Arvo Pärt, I'm probably mispronouncing his name, is great. Steve Reich is my hero. He's 90 years old now. The guy just keeps on keeping on. He's got the energy of a 12-year-old. It's amazing. So I'm big respect, and I love his music. Okie dokie. Let's see. Hi from Rio. Wow, cool. Brazil. Hello. Hello from Estonia. Nice to see you there, Matmagus. And what pickup do I use? No, you didn't miss too much. I did mention it very quickly, but I'll get into it more. So this is Acoustic Music H6X asking this. Boy, your parents give you a funny name. All right. So this is a K&K system. And K&K is a company based in the States. It's a German guy who runs it. This guy, Dieter, I forget his last name right now. But great guy, started this pickup company a bunch of years ago. And it's very high-end stuff. Let's see if I can find the preamp. I think it's maybe liberated at the moment. Yeah, okay. It's a little beaten up from the road. So I'll talk about the pickup first. So you can't see the piezo pickup. It's a 3-piece piezo. And it's you sort of epoxy it to the bridge plate. So it's not an under-the-saddle piezo. Under-the-saddle piezos tend to sound very honky. They sound like ducks quacking for the most part. So I avoid under-the-saddle pickups as much as I possibly can. Just need a sip of water, excuse me. Nice Canadian bubbly water from my home province of Quebec. Anyway, so what Dieter does instead is he does this 3-piece piezo. It's sort of based on the idea of the frap pickup, which is what Michael Hedges used to use. And then, so that in combination with this microphone, and this is a condenser microphone. And then what happens is those are wired through a stereo cable. And this jack is a stereo jack. So you use a TRS cable or a stereo cable, whatever you want to call it. A TRS just stands for tip, ring, sleeve. It can carry more than one signal, and it also provides power, phantom power to the microphone. And then you connect to one of these. So this is the higher end preamp blender that they make. They also make a very small one that you can put, it's like less than half the size. You can just put on your belt or something. But I find them very hard to control, those things. You have to get in there, you have with a screwdriver, and it's a bit of a nightmare. Depending on what room you're in, you might have to make changes and then you're sunk. So this actually just sits next to me, on a table or whatever. I also use a stage mixer because I've got more than one guitar. So I have one of these for each of my guitars. And so you can see it has a transducer side and a microphone side. And you can also use it in a 2-transducer system by flicking this little red switch on the back. But when you have it pressed in, that's set up to send power to a microphone. And each side has its own volume control and volumes and gains. And each side has its own EQ. And what this will do is it'll blend it in stereo, and you can come out in mono. So you can probably see, where does it come out? Right. It says line mix out here. So you can come out with a regular mono guitar jack there, or you can come out with a balanced cable here, an XLR cable. And it sounds amazing. It's a really great sounding system. I swear by it. I've been using them for 20 years, and we're good buds at this point. London Jeff something just says, whoa, great, whoa. Let's see now. I'm sorry, I've got this itchy nose all of a sudden. Hi from Rio. Maybe you could explain the history of your inspiration for the Brazilians' name song. Sometimes I'm silly. So I wrote this piece of music. It was supposed to be a tune. Actually, believe it or not, the Swedish House Mafia, the trio of EDM artists, they got in touch with me back about 10, 12 years ago. They liked my music, and they asked me to maybe send them some ideas for tunes that maybe they could collaborate with me on. And it didn't come to anything, but one of the tunes I really liked was that tune called A Million Brazilian Civilians. I just named it that only because it has nothing to do with the tune directly. I heard a news story from Brazil. This is back, it was probably around 2016. The album came out in 2017. So there were some protests going on, and there was a big protest, anti-government protest that year. And there was a BBC reporter who said, on the streets of Brasilia, 1 million Brazilian civilians are protesting. And I thought, he's having a laugh. I know it's a serious story, but he was looking for a reason to say 1 million Brazilian civilians. So I just thought, that's so good. I got to use that as a tune title. So that's why that tune's called 1 million Brazilian civilians. But there are other tunes that I think have a Brazilian influence, like my tune Wall of Glass. Very much sounds like a kind of a cool samba. And Jesse Helms' Night in Havana is another it's sort of somewhere between Cuban jazz and Brazilian jazz, that tune. So I'm a big jazz fan. I'm a big fan of Latin music. So that creeps into my composition sometimes. Awful workshop. You're still fighting with your polyrhythm. I see why it was awful. Just kidding. The workshop was brilliant, but way beyond your level. Oh, okay. Well, I try to make them so that people don't get bored at them, and maybe they get challenged. So, but also when you're teaching a workshop to a group of people, you never know what level everybody's at. Everybody's kind of at a different level. So you have to do what you can to sort of meet this kind of middle ground where you think some people will find it challenging. Other people it might be a refresher for them. But anyway, I'm glad you're still working on that stuff. Bluebird, when you used your Boss Chromatic Tuner TU2 in performance, it would not tune properly but worked fine at home. Is it because I was somehow plugged into the sound system house electrical? That could cause interference, yeah, sometimes, depending on the room. It can cause interference with grounds and stuff like that, or earths, depending on what part of the world you're in and what term you use. I've broken down and just bought one of these $20 it's Planet Waves tuners, and it just sort of clips on, and if I turn it on, maybe you've seen one of these before, but you turn it on and it tells you what note you're playing. So there's an E, see, and you can see it from the stage, and it's a little bit discreet, but I find that this is foolproof, and cheap. Tuning pedals are great as long as your signal chain is not interrupted or having trouble. But something like this too, the nice thing about this is that it's really easy just to very quietly tune, maybe while your stage partner is playing their tune while you take a break or whatever. So those little tuners make a big difference. Okie dokie. Wow, the north of Scotland, isn't that lovely? Yeah, I was telling people that I played at the Ullapool Guitar Festival with Julie Malia last year. It was a lot of fun. All right, just checking Facebook. Hi, John Hildreth in Blacksburg, Virginia. That's nice. Orion Music, speaking of the UK, I don't know how I imagined this, but I swear I saw you here as a part of a package tour with Andy McKee and John Gomm. No, that was not me. That was probably Andy's Guitar Masters tour. But he did that, I think, with Preston Reed. And Preston and I don't really look much like each other. So, although I used to have very long hair like Preston still has, maybe that's why but even by then I'd cut my hair. I would still have long hair, except I look frightening with long hair these days. My hair's like straw now, so it's not my nice boyish curls anymore. Michael, hi from Vancouver. You missed Rogue Folk Club coming back there this fall. Was there in the fall of 2024. Julie and I are doing a double bill show there. Trying to remember when it is. It's in November. Yeah, I think it's in November. I could check my calendar extremely quickly and see what the date is. I can tell you right now. Open my calendar and go to. I think it's November. Yeah, it's part of a November tour of Western Canada. We'll be there on the 29th of November, so right at the end of the month. So you have a couple of months to buy your tickets. We'll see you there, I'm sure. Audio's okay. Thank you very much, Minnow. Fantastic. All right, back to you, YouTube people. Yes, YouTube. Let me see now. Hi, Fingerstyle China. That's nice to see you. Is that Weifeng? Hi, Weifeng. Do I spend much time in Wolfville? Yeah, it's just down the road. I live about 12, 15-minute drive east of Wolfville. So when I need a bit of a cultural fix, I go to the Al Whittle Theatre, or if I just feel like going for a nice drive, and it's a beautiful scenic drive between Windsor and Wolfville, you can see Cape Split along the way, and the Bay of Fundy, and the Minas Basin and all that stuff. It's just beautiful. So I love living around here. It's great. Sincere greetings. Yes, I got that already. Let's see now. Have I ever played a filed guitar? Julie, my German guitar tour partner, has a filed guitar. And when we first started touring together, she used it. She started having some issues with it. Not so much with the guitar, but with the pickup system in it. So I know that she eventually had it looked at and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure what the status of that is. So that's the only filed I really have any experience with. When I was at the Ullapool Guitar Festival in the fall of 24, I went to the filed booth and I tried a few guitars, and they were lovely. Nice people too, really nice people. Let's see who else has a question here. You're a Canadian watching from Arizona, nice and warm. You lucky duck. It's it's sunny out here in Nova Scotia, but we have had a very cold and snowy winter, which is, for around here, not very typical. We don't get that much snow normally, and it doesn't normally get this cold. So my heating bills have been a bit this year. Thanks for being an amazing Canadian. You're very sweet. I'm sure you're an amazing Canadian too. I name dropped Tony McManus. You saw him at Celtic Connections last month with JP Cormier. Oh, and Tim Eady. I don't know Tim. I haven't seen JP in a long time, but he lives in my province here in Nova Scotia. A great musician. You took your classes from Jam Play in class 6 and class 7. Now you're in 11th and became the best guitarist of my school and later won a championship. Also, wow, that's fantastic. I don't know what your name is because your username is unpronounceable, but that's fantastic to hear. How much of an influence was Leo Kottke? Big one. Leo was somebody that I didn't know about until when I lived in Toronto at the end of my high school days. The music teacher there, a fellow named Ian Grant, he made a mixtape for me. And it was all kinds of stuff that he was into. He was really a violinist, but he really loved guitar music and vocal music and every kind of music. He had a really open mind about music. And so one of the tunes he included was a tune called Bean Time by Leo Kottke. Bean Time is one of the craziest tunes I have ever tried to learn. And I haven't played it in 100 years. But it's sort of starting. Something like that, 100 years, like I say. So I had to learn it because I was just amazed by this tune. It was crazy. It was like Travis picking, but on another planet, and the chords were so weird in it. So crazily enough, I had that tune, and then I think I bought his album called The Best. It was kind of like the greatest hits of Leo Kottke. And then one day I was sick home from school. Again, this is the high school days. And I really was very sick. I wasn't faking it. And I stumbled downstairs at about 3 o'clock and turned on the television. And back then there was this guy who had a daytime talk show. His name was Merv Griffin. And I would never watch Merv Griffin. His style was too weird. But I just happened to turn it on, and I just saw the very beginning of the show, and he said, our musical guest today is a great young guitar player from Minnesota. His name is Leo Kottke. And I went, no way. He's going to be on Merv Griffin? And wouldn't you know it, he came out with a nylon string guitar and played Bean Time. And there were these two chords I wasn't sure about. And so I sat there in my pajamas, wiping my nose with a Kleenex and coughing, and I watched the TV really carefully, and I figured out the rest of the tune. I went, damn, I got it now. So it was when I was about 17. I learned that tune. So yeah, he was an early influence. We ended up playing together a few times at festivals. Great guy, giant musician, really a lot of respect there. Your name is Don Ross as well. Of course it is. All the good people are named Don Ross. And then there's me. You have I have long hair and a 22-inch beard. Now that's an achievement, I have to say. 22-inch beard. Holy moly. Do you see that Bruce Cockburn just cut his big beard off? Bruce Cockburn, another big influence on my music. He played on my last album with me. He decided to grow like a David Letterman beard in his later 70s. So he had this gigantic white beard. And when I went and recorded with him at his house, that's what he was looking like. And we did a couple of shows together, and he was doing the big beard. And then I noticed just his last few pictures that are on Facebook from his recent tour. Man is 80 years old, and he's still out there touring his brains out. He's clean shaven again. And of course, he looks about 30 years younger. Well, you had a show at Al Whittle. That's wonderful, Curtis. For your workshop, will I be teaching a lesson and then Julia teaches the lesson? Would you care to talk about the structure of the workshop? Thank you for the reminder about the workshop. Like I say, I'm really bad about remembering to talk about these things. All right, so the workshop is this thing. It's called the Don Ross Guitar Weekend. Okay, and that little QR code in the upper left-hand corner is, you can point your phone at that, and you can use that to pay the deposit if you want to. The total price, like I say, I think is it $825? I think it's $825 US. So this little QR code gets you to pay the first 50%, and then the rest is due in April. And it's here in Nova Scotia, right here in my town of Windsor, Nova Scotia. And you're asking about the structure of it. So Julie and I have done a fair number of these teaching workshops together. She has been a professional educator most of her adult life. So she's on sabbatical now from her university teaching job, but she teaches at the Carl Maria Weber, it's called a Musikhochschule. What do you call that in English? Music University, I guess, and conservatory. And she is a guitar instructor there. So she's got all the, Germans are really into a certificate for everything. So she's got all the certifications to be a great teacher. And she's got a great style. Like, she's very personable. Her English is perfect. So you'll really enjoy what she has to offer. And she comes from more of a nylon string background. She grew up taking classical guitar lessons like a lot of Germans do. But then in the last many years, she's sort of been morphing more and more into a fingerstyle player, playing steel string, writing songs with lyrics, and in both German and English. So what we'll do is we'll probably split the workshop times a little bit. We'll probably do some of we haven't talked too much about the strict structure of it yet, but we'll probably do some things together, because we'll talk about playing in a duet, which is it's what we do, and arranging for two guitars, that kind of thing. So it'll be quite different from last year's. And Corey, I think it's Corey, you were at last year's event, and so it won't be a carbon copy. It'll still be a lot of fun. But Julie, like I say, she's got such great energy and a delightful human being, and I think you'll really enjoy her presence. And she brings so much to the table. So so there's the website for the Guitar Weekend is there. And what else can I tell you? The total price, is $825 US for the Guitar Weekend. That QR code lets you pay the first half. And what else can I tell you? You get 2 nights hotel accommodation, all the meals, all the workshops, and a concert for that. Like last year, I did the concert here at the private school, which is actually just behind my house, and in their library, and it looks like Hogwarts. It's amazing. It was really, really sweet. And a couple of the folks who attended the guitar weekend actually did a tune or two as well. So again, it's August 14th through 16th here in Windsor, Nova Scotia. What other propaganda do I have here? Yes, and if you want to write to me, there's the Gmail address for it. Okay, so that's my little commercial message about the guitar weekend. All right, so hopefully you'll come on out, and we're about 50% sold already. So there's only a very limited number of spaces in total. So book soon, because it'll be a party. And August in Nova Scotia is freaking gorgeous. And where I live, there's a river and a lake nearby, and then there's the Minas Basin, which is part of the Bay of Fundy, just a couple of kilometers away, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous area, a beautiful part of Nova Scotia, sort of right in the middle, in the Annapolis Valley, which is where all the food grows, all the wineries are. There's about 10 wineries just down the street from me here. So if you're into yummy local wines, you can also drink wine. Joey on Facebook says, hi from Saskatoon. Can I talk a bit about what happens at your guitar camps? Oh, I think I just did. All right. And what's the likelihood of doing one in Muskoka? Yeah, I've been trying to work out a time to do one at the venue in Muskoka that I've done it at before. And none of the weekends that were available at the venue are weekends when I'm not touring. I'm touring a lot, like through the later summer and into the fall. It's like solid. But what I'm thinking about doing, and I'll just say this out loud, it's still in the planning stages, but and it's coming up soon. I'll probably do a one-day workshop in Toronto. I talked to a friend of mine who has a big law office in sort of the Junction area of Toronto. And we did one 2 or 3 years ago, and it was very successful. So I'd probably do like I say, a one-day workshop in Toronto. So Joey, I know I see your comments come up on my Facebook regularly. So I'll talk about it on Facebook as soon as I arrange it. So I've talked to my friend once about it, and now we'll talk more thoroughly, because I'm coming to Ontario through like the later part of May into the early part of June. I have a show in Aurora, Ontario on the 23rd of May, and I have a show in Toronto as part of the Luminato Festival on June the 6th. So I'll probably do the guitar weekend, maybe in that weekend between those two events. So that would be right at the end of May. But I'll know more soon, and I'll let you know. What caliber of guitar players come to the workshop? All calibers. There is no requirement, but it's a good idea if you've played for a little while. You don't have to be the Steve Vai of acoustic guitar. You don't have to be Sariola, or you don't have to be Michael Hedges or anything. You could just be somebody who's a passionate player. Almost nobody who comes to the workshop is a professional. Pretty much everybody is a serious hobbyist. So, and of course, some people are really wonderful players, and other people are more, early in their journey as a guitar player. And that's fine. There's room for everyone. I've taught these guitar weekends, my own guitar weekends, since 1997. So I've seen a lot of people come through, and with a lot of different gifts that they can offer, and different things that we can work on together. So, and a lot of it is about camaraderie. Like people make lifelong friends at these things. And that's wonderful. Blacksburg, Virginia. Yes, that's right. All right. So I'll play a part of another tune or a whole other tune for you quick, because I don't want the time to go by without playing more music. What shall I play? Let's see. I'm in standard tuning. And what's in standard tuning? I'll play you something sweet here. This is somebody was asking about classical music earlier. I wrote this piece for my music university audition when I did my bachelor's degree back in the 16th century. No, it was ever so slightly later than that, but more recent than that. And I'll just play you like a condensed version of this piece. And the story behind it, I I was 18, and 18-year-old boy guitar player. So a lot of stuff was, manic a lot of the time. So um, they made a suggestion at the in the write up about the audition. They made a suggestion that your two pieces that you play for the adjudicator be contrasting. So I think I played Bean Time, that Leo Kottke tune, and then I wrote a tune I thought, okay, I'll impress them with the fact that I do compose, and I'll write something really sweet and lyrical and quiet, and it'll totally contrast to the Leo Kottke tune. And I haven't played it in a little while, but I'll try. I cut my finger the other day. I've got a Band-Aid on, so who knows how this will go. But this is a little segment of a tune called King Street Suite. Try that again. That was terrible. And the Band-Aid is more of a trouble than I thought it would be. Give this, okay, take two. Leave out the repeats, so I'm going to the second section. And the third section is, oh, right. Been a while. Anyway, it's a little segment of a piece called King Street Suite that I wrote. How old am I now? I wrote that tune 47 years ago. Let's just see who else is here. Let's see now. Trying to find new questions that I haven't seen yet. There's a bunch of them. Could I play Berkeley Springs or Pernambuco? I'll try to fit one of those in. Hi, Bornil from India. Wow, cool. I am a lead guitarist of a metal band. Maybe I wish to be a great guitarist like you in the future. Wow, well, I'm very, very flattered. Thank you very much, Bornil. Okay, round two of so many questions. First, you'll assume I'm a Steely Dan fan, of course. Who isn't? Well, I'm sure some people aren't. But I grew up with them, and there was no such thing as yacht rock back then. They're just really great jazz musicians who play a very popular form of jazz. What's your favorite song of theirs? Home at Last, from the Asia album. I really like Gaucho as well, although it was a ripoff of a Keith Jarrett tune, so they ended up having... Keith Jarrett took them to court, so they had to give him a co-writing on that one. But it's a great tune, Gaucho. And I've Got the News, also from the Asia album. Love that song. There's a lot of them, but those are my top picks right away. What's your favorite song of theirs? And which one would you say is the most overrated? I don't know. Overrated Steely Dan song. I really, off the top of my head, I mean, there are Steely Dan tunes that I can think of that I'm not zany about, but they're fine. They're fine. They're just not my favorite ones. I'll have to think about that one. I'm not sure which one's overrated. Um, Marcelo, when I'm touring, do I need to adjust my string action and neck in the different weather conditions, or has it never been an issue for your guitars? I used to do this thing where I would loosen my strings before I flew, and then most of the luthiers I talked to said that's just an urban legend. It's not. You don't have to do that. So I don't do it anymore. They say it's actually harder on your guitar to have so much loosening and tightening very drastic like that. It's just better to leave them tuned up. So no, that's the answer. Hi from Toronto. You're apologizing for sneaking into a show you did with Andy McKee in Caesarea. Wow, that was a crazy show. Yeah, that used to be some sort of biker hideout. I don't know. It wasn't by the time we played there, but I heard it was like a chapter of the, I don't know which biker gang. I don't know anything about biker gangs, but they used to be their headquarters, and I don't know. But then it was turned into this beautiful concert room. But you snuck in. That's a very biker thing to do. All right. You got lost en route and skipped the door charge, but you spent everything you had on merch. Well, God bless you. Yeah, you don't have to go to confession now. All right. Metallica or Megadeth? Which one do I like? I don't know their music very well. I've heard a couple of Metallica songs I liked, so I'll pick Metallica. Another Indian fan. Hi from India, 16 years old. That's fantastic. I love playing in India. I played in Bangalore a few times. I played in Mumbai a few times, and I've been up to visit up in Rishikesh. I brought my late wife's ashes to the Ganga there, to the Ganges River. She wanted her ashes to go there, so I fulfilled her wish, and I took a special flight up to Rishikesh and went to Laxmanjula and emptied her ashes into the Ganges. Yeah. Julie is great. Yes, she is. And your collaborations are so fun to see. Why don't we look at one? I've got one queued up here. We won't watch the whole thing, but let's watch a bit of this video because it's fun. See and hear, Julie's amazing. She's a fantastic guitar player, great musician, and a wonderful human being. So come on out to the guitar weekend, and she'll be there teaching as well. All right, a couple more questions. We'll go over an hour. I normally do an hour on these things, but people are having a good time. I'm having fun. Yes, pardon your bad English. Come on, your English is fine. There's nothing wrong with your English. All right. You have to go to a gig at 7:30. Oh, that's too bad. All right. We'll see you soon. I seem to have a great, there's somebody saying to me, you, meaning me, seem to have a great ability to tune the open strings by ear on the fly. Did you always have that ability, or is it something you developed? I've always done a lot of singing. From the time I was a little boy, I sang in choirs and stuff like that. So I got really good at hearing intervals and hearing, reading, sight reading. I got really good at being able to sight read or sight sing music from an early age. I don't use written music a ton as a guitar player, but I understand written music really well. And if I see like a melody written out or a bass line or whatever, I can just sing it and then no problem learn it really quickly that way. I play piano and guitar and stuff like that, so I have to use written music regularly. But I mean, I think it's a lot of it's just based on my understanding of music plus my ability to tune my voice to other instruments, and then I tune that. I turned that into a skill that I can use on the guitar, which is really handy because the guitar, guitars are never in tune, right? So it's just like you have to be able to tune your guitar well, and if you use a lot of alternate tunings like I do, you have to be able to do it lickety split without boring the pants off of people while you're doing it. So important skill. So it's a lot of practice, though it really is. Like anything else that where you're sort of developing a skill set, you have to invest time for sure. But good question. The guitar camp in Germany with Donna and Julie last year was so great. This is Castine. You're such a sweet person. Yeah, Castine came and had a great time with us, and we're doing it again this spring. We're doing it in May, right? So that'll be a time. Any suggestion to improve the thumb picking skills, speed, alternate picking, and if I preferred brand setup? Thumb picking. I mean, you can start with Travis picking. Like. So to get a regular rhythm going and then fill in the eighth notes with your fingers, or that kind of more sort of country picking style. The good thing about it is that it's very, very regular and you can learn sort of the basics of finger picking that way. But Leo Kottke puts it best. He says if you want to learn how to play fingerstyle guitar, learn the patterns. And then second rule is unlearn the patterns, because pattern picking only gets you so far. It's like singing scales all the time is great, but if you don't actually make a melody out of the scales, you're not really doing much with it. So that's a good start. In terms of, I guess you're talking about thumb picks. Here's the brand I use. I don't know if you can see this. No, it's not going to get in focus. Let me just try putting it right up. See if that, there, you can see the Golden Gate Bridge on there. Oh, it's upside down. Of course it is. The Golden Gate Bridge. Oh, it was in focus. There it almost is. There we go. Anyway, it's a brand called Golden Gate, and it's got the Golden Gate Bridge on them. They're made out of Ivoroid instead of just cheap plastic. They last a long time. They sound good, and the large size fits my thumb perfectly, so I'm happy with them. So that's my little endorsement for them. Let's see now. You can play your tunes Klimbim. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you played. Speaking of Klimbim, I've been recording new Don Ross Guitar Academy videos for the Klimbim tune. It's a slow go all the time. I just finished editing lesson 6 this morning. Each lesson takes hours to edit together because you have to sit in front of 3 cameras and record onto Pro Tools and put it all together later. So it takes a long time to put each lesson together. But I think I have one more day of recording, and then I'll have all the lessons recorded, and then I'll edit them in the next couple of days. So I hope to have, and that's a very advanced tune, Klimbim, so that'll be part of the advanced module on the Guitar Academy. So that's donrossguitaracademy.com, which is actually what's bringing you this stream. I normally do this stream only for people who are members of the Don Ross Guitar Academy. And so that usually just this tight group of people who have signed up already. But this time I decided to do wide open stream. So donrossguitaracademy.com, and then donrossguitarweekend.com is for the workshop in Nova Scotia. Most accessible tunes of mine for beginners, probably it's a tune called Stop Driving, Start Playing. So that's on the Upright and Locked Position album. That was intentionally written as an easy piece to learn for a book that never came out. So I decided to record. It wasn't my book. I decided to record it and put it on. It's a very, very pretty tune, very simple to play. And then in terms of other tunes, there's a piece called 39 Weeks from a very early album of mine. It's not easy, but it's mostly a big chordal kind of tune, but it's very regular, the picking in it. So 39, like the number, weeks. It's the number of weeks that a baby gestates, because I was expecting my wife was expecting my first baby back then. So those two are probably the most accessible. Also Berkeley Springs, my arrangement of Berkeley Springs, which I'll try to play before we finish today. Okay, go to your show, Elvis Presley in concert. That's great. Didn't know he was still doing those shows. Hi, Don. While you're in standard, take Red Ships. Okay. I'll play a little bit of Red Ships Take Off in the Distance. It's a Bruce Cockburn tune. starts like this. There's more. There's sort of an improv section and all that kind of stuff, but that's the gist of the tune. Really interesting piece. The whole sort of composed part of the tune is only played on the bottom 4 strings, and in very Brucey style, Bruce Coburn, he loves pedal bass. So you do this kind of thing, and so there's moving parts sort of in the upper voices, but the lower voice just does this pedal. And then he takes that whole thing and just moves it up a fourth to this. It's so interesting because the pedal's an E and this is an F chord on top of it. It sounds amazing. It's an F major 7th. All right, so I hope that helps. The question was about droning with the thumb and freely improvise. Oh yeah, that's like later on. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's a matter of sort of not concentrating too much on your thumb. Your thumb has to be on autopilot. It's a bit like Travis picking that way, but this is pedal, thumb picking. And you have to be able to kind of draw an imaginary line between your thumb and fingers. And don't let your thumb know what your fingers are doing, basically. Again, I don't know that there's a shortcut. It's a matter of just doing it until it clicks one day. I think most things to do with the physical playing of an instrument are kind of a result of what very often gets called patterning. Patterning is like, especially if you work like with people who have like a brain injury or maybe they were born with mental handicaps. I did a lot of work as a younger person with mentally handicapped folks, and some of them were children, and some of the things we had to do were to teach them to crawl and teach them to move their limbs in a certain way. So like, when you're a kid, normally you learn to do your crawling by sort of moving your left foot along with your right leg, and then the opposite, right? And you sort of do that kind of instinctively when you're a kid, because your brain sort of kicks in and tells you that's a good way to get around before you can walk upright. And with a lot of mentally handicapped kids, that's something, it's a skill that takes the brain a long time to learn. And one of the ways that it can accelerate the process is by teaching them the pattern. So 2 people take their limbs and move them in the way so that they learn eventually to just do it on their own. And I think when you're playing an instrument, and especially when you're playing kind of like things like that are a little bit unusual in that, you're keeping very strict time and playing one note over and over again with your thumb, and then trying to improvise on top of it. It's a matter of doing it until, like I say, it clicks. And that sounds like a cop-out, but I don't mean it to be. It just, there's little other that you can say about it other than, again, that tired old expression, practice makes perfect. I'm just looking for something that I want to play for you. Yeah, so here's a bit of fun. Here is my new single. And I guess I'll use this file version. So I just did a new vocal album. The album's coming out probably, I'll know once I get my CD, sort of knowing my CDs are going to be ready. But I've released a single so far. It's this song called Did I Fool You? I wrote this song when I was a teenager. And most of this recording was actually from 1981. And I recorded it with some friends back then, including the co-writer. And then what I did this year was I took a digital backup that I made of it 25 years ago. It sounded really good, and I put it through unmixing software, and I remixed the song, put it on a new vocal. So I replaced my old vocal from when I was a late teenager, because I sing better now. I put in a new guitar part, and I asked a drummer named Marto Marsh to replace the drumming, and it sounds really good. And I added some strings and choral parts and stuff, but all the original, like the original electric guitars, the original pianos, the original bass part, and the original backup vocals are all there. So let's see if this works. Losing control of stars in heaven. You'll remember me when you're going. He'll forget you when you're gone. Dreams and songs remain to haunt my worried mind. How often have I stayed inside myself, beside myself? But I'm alright, I'm fine. Everything happens my way. I could fool anyone, but did I fool you? Did I fool you? Who's in control of mind and reverie? Don't look so confused. In truth, there's still some time ahead of me. But I am alright, I'm fine. Everything happens my way. I could fool anyone, but did I fool you? Oh, did I fool you? Did I fool you? Yeehaw, another aspect of what I do. And that was, as you saw, like filmed in this room, and all the overdubs that I added, except for the drumming, which was done by my friend Matto at his studio in Toronto. It was all done here. And so I've got a few really interesting questions that I should get to, and we can go for another few minutes. So now, somebody asked about, do I have a chance to meet you in Russia? I played in Russia just once in 2011, and haven't been invited back since. And of course, the international situation right now between what's going on between Russia and Ukraine, and what's been going on between Israel and Gaza, and now what's going on between Israel and the United States and Iran, it's making that kind of idea dicier and dicier by the moment. And I go back and forth to Europe several times a year, and I just want to be able to keep doing that. I don't know how feasible a trip to Russia will be anytime soon. Sorry to say. What's the guitar I'm playing? It's a Mark Beneteau guitar, Beneteau, BenetauGuitars.com, Mark with a C, M-A-R-C. All right. You had a rather humiliating, this is John, you had a rather humiliating train wreck public performance 7 years ago and haven't played a note since. Any tips on how to conquer inner demons getting over it when all goes wrong? I laugh. If I bugger up on stage, I just have a good laugh and I tell people, well, I'll try that again. At this point, I mean, even if you've been playing for a long time, like I have in front of people, you're still going to F up sometimes. And the important thing is to realize that nobody's going to kill you, nobody's going to die. Like I used to get so nervous about making mistakes. Then I realized mistakes can be funny, if you don't take yourself too seriously. And I think that's the big problem most of us have, is that most of us take ourselves way too seriously, much more seriously than most audience members do. I know there are critics out there. Everybody's a critic, right? Everybody's got a you know what and an opinion, but at the same time, you don't let the crummy people get you down. Most people are going to like you and be your friend no matter what happens. So I don't know what else to tell you except you know I'm currently not drinking alcohol. I go on and off alcohol, sometimes for several years at a time. I don't drink just because I like not drinking. But occasionally I found that maybe a little glass of wine, maybe half an hour before the show, if it doesn't make me too sleepy, or maybe half a glass of wine, if I'm feeling antsy or nervous or whatever, that sometimes helped me. But I don't like to suggest people do drugs basically to calm down. Maybe deep breathing, take up yoga. Those are all kinds of good things that you can do for yourself. Joey, another question. Can you do a close up of your picking hand? You mentioned manicures once, manicures. So my nails are a bit of a mess right now, but let's see how in focus they can get. There, you can see how gross they look. But anyway, this one and this one are slightly more realistic looking. My middle finger has got a different brand of nail on them. So what I do is I use these things. I buy them at the pharmacy. Here in Canada, you can get them at Shoppers Drug Mart. Again, focus is always a problem when you're doing these things on the fly. There we go. So you can see the brand name is Kiss. The style is called Nude. Of course it is. And they look like this. Here, I'll just take one here that's on my desk. They look pretty real. They look kind of like almost like real nails. They've got like a white bit at the end and all that stuff. Again, hard to focus. I give up. Anyway, and those ones are really hard. So they go on, like you just have to glue them on, and you can play guitar right away with these. They're amazing. The other ones, this weird looking one, that's a different brand, made by the same company, but they're very thin, so I have to put one on top of the other. But the other ones are just straight out of the box. They work really well. Yeah. Martin Richard, any literature you would recommend on open tunings? There's a book by Mark Hansen that was written a long time ago on altered tunings. That's about the only one I know of. I think Google's your friend there. I don't know much about literature on open tunings, unfortunately. What's the most metal thing I listen to or play? I have a tune that I wrote called Loaded Leather Moonroof, which is in a tuning, I'm not going to get into it right now, but C, G, C, G, C, C. So it's all C's and G's. And it's this big, monstrous, very metal kind of tuning, and it's a very metal kind of tune. It's a tune called Loaded Leather Moonroof. And if you go to my Bandcamp, you can get the band version, which is really amazing. It's a fantastic band with Mark Egan playing fretless bass on it. It's insane. One of these days I'll get it up on the streams. But that's a great performance. There's also a solo version of it on an album called Huron Street. And I wrote another tune called Yo-Yo Mama that's on an album called Dracula and Friends. No, sorry. It's on an album called This Dragon Won't Sleep. And that's another very metal tune that I wrote. In terms of metal stuff I listen to a lot of noisy music, but I don't know if it counts as metal. It's one of those funny things where I never know if what I like that's noisy is what other people call metal. John Mahoney, hi, and Chico, very nice to see you. What am I playing on harp? What are you playing on harp guitar these days? Nothing new. I haven't written anything new for the harp guitar. I wrote a few tunes. A tune called Marie, dedicated to my mother. I wrote what's the other thing I did? it's that's a tune I wrote. I wrote another tune years ago that I don't play anymore, and then I do some arrangements. I do a Betcha by Golly Wow, the stylistics standard, and I do. I've done Michael Hedges tunes that he wrote for harp guitar. Harp guitar and I love it, but it's a very impractical instrument to carry around, and so I very often neglect it. But I've been promising myself that I will start playing it more. It's sitting right over there looking at me, saying, "Don, please play me." So I better get over there and play her. Great. Okay, I'll take one or two more questions, then we should probably wind down. Now, there's a question here about Atmos. So the Shido 11. Hello, Don. Nice seeing you live. That's really nice to see you out there. You have a broader question since I enjoy listening to tunes on Tidal with Dolby Atmos enabled. How do I go about learning to record the guitar for high quality? Well, I record, I mix in Dolby Atmos here in my studio, and my approach to recording the guitar is actually keep it simple. I have a stereo microphone, which I guess I have very smartly put completely away in its box, like it should be put away. But it's made by a company called Rode, Rode. It's an Australian mic company. And I've had this mic for like 20 years. It's called an NT4. It's a stereo microphone. It's an XY pattern. It's a foolproof, beautiful sounding stereo mic. I recommend it to everyone because everybody that I've recommended it to has gotten it and gotten really excited by how easy it is to use and what a great sound you get out of it. And it's a way of turning this relatively monophonic instrument, the guitar, into a nice stereo sounding source. And then you can use software even to bounce up the stereophony a little bit more and make it a little more lefty righty if you like. And then I usually also record just the transducer from my K&K pickup as a third source. So I have the stereo mic and I have the K&K, and what that does is it gives me the chance, if I want to use that transducer sound only basically for as a bass boost, so like warming up the bottom. So I usually roll the highs off it, and or you can use it as a signal to send to effects that isn't your microphones, and sometimes that's a nice thing to do. And then, it's a matter of recording at a relatively high bit rate and resolution. I tend to record 24-bit 48K most of the time. That's kind of become the standard. It's also the standard for Atmos. And then some people go 24-bit 96K and then they dummy it down for Atmos. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. But mostly it's a matter, years ago, when I first got into doing a lot of engineering in my own little bedroom studio. My ex and I, Brooke Miller, she got signed to Sony Music right at the beginning of our relationship, and it was all very exciting because they were based on demos that we'd recorded together. And then we ended up finishing up the album in league. I co-produced it with this guy from New York who was the guy who got her signed to Sony. But we recorded it all at home. Like every single note was just recorded in our own environment. We didn't go to a real studio. And I did the best job I possibly could. And then there was a budget. So at Sony, they said, do you want to mix it or should we get somebody else to mix it? I said, at this point, I've been working on this project for a long time. It's probably better if a different set of ears mixes it. So wouldn't you know it, because they had a budget, we got to record in New York, to mix in New York with a guy named Frank Filippetti, who is legendary. The guy's won 7 Grammy Awards for his mixes. And he even produced and recorded and mixed the Hourglass record by James Taylor. He won the Grammy for Best Producer for that. He's done live shows with James that were broadcast on HBO and stuff. He's mixed Sting, Paul McCartney, Foreigner, all kinds of people. So like he actually mixed I Want to Know What Love Is by Foreigner. Anyway, he's done these incredible things. So I was a little intimidated. I was sitting in the back of the room while he was mixing, and at one point he just spun around and looked at me and he said, "Where was this recorded?" And I thought, uh-oh. I took a big gulp and I said, "At our place." And he goes, "You recorded this at home?" I said, "Yes, we recorded it at home on an iBook." So it was even not a high-end Mac. It was a Mac that could do the job. I mean, even back then, it was kind of amazing what they could do. And he says, "Oh my God." He says, "This album sounds better than a lot of the records that get made at some of these $300 an hour studios here in New York." He says, "I'm super impressed." He says, "It just goes to show you, Don, it's all about good ears and good mics." And then he spun around and went back to mixing. And I just went, yes! I felt so completely gratified and vindicated and relieved because I mean, I had this 7-time Grammy Award guy telling me this, and I was just like, holy crap. I was so pleased. So, again, good ears, good mics. And, a decent interface. The interface I use is 10 years old. I paid $1,000 for it, and it's recorded all my albums, for the last many years. For Atmos, I have to have a fancier interface for for doing the mixing and stuff, but and playback. But you can get a really good sound quite simply, and not for a lot of money. Don't think you have to spend gajillions of dollars on your gear. You don't. You have fans from since the '90s, Ron. That's lovely. 44-year-old original recording. Yeah, that's right. I think actually, yeah. By the time I worked on it, it was 44 years old. That Did I Fool You? Have I ever played nylon? No, not really. And Julie's such a good nylon player, and she knows exactly how to get the best sounds out of it. I just feel like a tool when I play nylon anywhere near her, because I'm playing with these big, plastic nails, and it's just not the way to do it. She plays with natural nails, and she gets such a great tone. I just go, I'll let her do the nylon stuff. What do I think of it? I think it's great. I just don't do it. What would I play? I don't know. I'd probably want to play classical repertoire. Like work up some nice Bach transcriptions or something. I did a transcription years ago, a reduction of the first movement from the Stabat Mater by Pergolesi, another Baroque composer, and I'd probably work on that on nylon, but I wouldn't be able to get a good tone. Still into singing, yeah, I've always been into singing. The Meat Sweats. Any plans to partner with Dunlop and produce Tortex artificial nails of various thicknesses? Wow. I don't know what Tortex is, and I don't know anything about thicknesses of anything. I'm very non-technical when it comes to gear. I mean, I know recording gear better than I know anything about the guitar. That's for sure. About gear. Sorry, I don't know how to answer your question. You only ever heard one clam at Port Perry one year. You said, "Oh yeah, oh my God, what a great moment." Yeah, I when I make mistakes now, I either laugh or I go, oh, "Yeah," and make a big deal out of it because it's funny. Robot Monster's pretty metal too. Yes, you're right, Tom. And soup is best out of somebody's cupped hands. So, Bluebird. In the early years, guitarist Jack Semple cut up table tennis balls and glued them on for finger picks. Yes. Wow, I didn't know Jack. Oh, that's such a shame that Jack had a brain tumor. I've done one show with him. It was about 9 years ago in Calgary. Sorry. Well, anyway, I'm glad that he's learning to walk and play. That's good. Okay. Alex, hi. What's the most interesting record I've listened to recently? Trying to think. I'm really hooked on the new Katie Tupper album. She's a singer from Canada, from Saskatoon. Sort of a neo soul singer. Great. I really like the latest Olivia Dean album. I think it's great. The tune on there called what's it called? Oh my gosh. I'll have to think about that. There's this one tune that's just so beautiful. Is it called Quiet? Anyway, Olivia Dean, I like her new record. The new Brothers Landreth album is incredible. It's called Dog Ear. If you get a chance to check that out, it's fantabulous. Let me see what that song by Olivia Dean is. Olivia Dean. And it's... I know I don't have the name right of the song. It's just it's going to drive me crazy unless I look it up. It's called Loud. It's the opposite of quiet. Yeah, it's a song called Loud. It's an amazing, sort of incredibly well sung ballad. You got to hear it. Anyway, the new Olivia Dean record is great. But yeah, Brothers Landreth, Dog Ear. Fantastic record. And what else have I been listening to of late? I don't know. I've been mixing so much music that I can't even think of anything other than the 8 songs on my new album. All right, I'm going to take a couple more questions, then we better get on with our Saturday. But thanks for the question, Alex. Vindication's a good feeling. What's your opinion on Maton guitars? I've never played one. I'm sorry, I don't know anything about Maton guitars. I know that Tommy Emmanuel plays one. That's all I know. Hi, Nate. Oh, that's very nice. Respectful lurking back to you. All right, folks. Well, it's been so nice to hang out. So thank you for being here. Once again, don't forget about the Don Ross Guitar Weekend. It's happening August 14th through 16th in Windsor, Nova Scotia. And let's just get that back up on the screen. It's $825 US. That includes all your accommodation, food, drinks, instruction, a concert, all kinds of nonsense. Don Ross Guitar Weekend is the site. This QR code is a way to pay the deposit, and then the rest is due in April. So please check it out. And my new single, Did I Fool You, is on the streams now. Unfortunately, the Atmos version of it was delayed for no fault of mine. I uploaded it to the distributor and they forgot to send it to Apple Music and Tidal. And I talked to them the other day and I expressed my consternation. So I've been checking every day. They say, oh, it'll probably take a week to show up in Atmos. So I talked to them on Monday. So hopefully by Monday, the Atmos version will be streamable if you're an Atmos listener. And so Apple Music, Tidal, all those, the usual suspects, Amazon Music, they all play Atmos music. All right. So thanks for doing this. Thanks for being here. It was really nice to see so many people checking it out. It was nice to hang out with you for an hour and a half on a Saturday. All right. So have a great rest of your weekend and we'll do this again sometime soon. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.